All right, let's dive right in. We're going to go on a journey from the foggy crystal balls of old-school economic prediction all the way to the super high-definition maps being drawn by artificial intelligence. It's all in the quest to answer one single crucial question. Where are prices heading next?
You know that feeling, right? You're at the grocery store or maybe filling up your car, and you get this nagging sense that your money just doesn't go as far as it used to. Well, that feeling, it's got a name, and it's at the very heart of what we're talking about today. At its core, inflation is actually pretty simple. It just means that as the average price of, well, everything goes up, each dollar you have buys a little bit less stuff. Plain and simple, your money's buying power starts to shrink.
Okay, let's put some real numbers on this so it's not so abstract. Say we have a 6% inflation rate. That cool bicycle that was $100 last year, it's now $106. Your weekly $50 grocery run, that's $53 now. It might not sound like a huge deal for just one item, but believe me, it adds up across everything you buy.
And this, right here, leads us to what you might call the crystal ball problem. It's one thing to know that inflation is happening, but how on earth do you predict where it's going next?
And this isn't just some dusty academic game. Getting this prediction right or getting it wrong has absolutely massive consequences. It shapes government policy, it tells central banks what to do with interest rates, and as we're going to see, it directly affects the cost of your loans and what you earn on your savings. For the longest time, the tools economists used were, frankly, always a step behind. They were relying on official data that could already be a month old. I mean, a month is an eternity in today's economy. Their models just assumed the world worked in straight lines, when we all know it's a complicated, messy system. It was kind of like trying to navigate a hurricane with a blurry map from yesterday.
So clearly, that wasn't going to cut it. Economists needed a whole new playbook. They had to figure out a way to see the economy as it is right now, not as it was a few weeks ago. And that brings us to the first really big breakthrough, nowcasting. I know it sounds a little bit like science fiction, but the idea is to use this absolute flood of real-time data to paint a picture of the economy as it exists today. So it's less about forecasting the future and more about accurately forecasting the present.
Let me give you an analogy. The old way was like being the captain of a ship in a storm, but you only had yesterday's weather report to guide you. Good luck with that, right? Nowcasting, on the other hand, is like having a live, up-to-the-second satellite feed showing you exactly where the storm is, moment by moment. It's a total game changer.
So you're probably wondering, where does all this amazing real-time data come from? It's from what's being called the fast data revolution, and it is everywhere. We're talking daily oil prices, weekly shipping reports, even what people are searching for on Google. Every single time someone swipes a credit card or posts a job online, it becomes a new clue for understanding the economy's pulse.
Okay, so having all this data is one thing. That's fantastic. But making sense of it all, finding that one important signal in an ocean of noise, that's a completely different challenge. And it required an even more powerful tool. And that's where machine learning enters the picture. If nowcasting gives you this fire hose of high-definition data, then machine learning is the superpowered brain you need to actually process it all.
Now, I know this looks a little complex, but the core idea is really simple. You feed an AI model massive, and I mean massive, amounts of historical data, things like oil prices, GDP, unemployment rates, you name it. The AI then trains itself on this data, learning all the subtle relationships. It's kind of like a detective who studied thousands and thousands of old case files. It starts to spot patterns that no single human ever could.
And this right here is a little peek inside the AI's brain after it's done all that learning. See those deep red squares? That shows a really strong connection. When one of those things goes up, the other tends to go up too. The blue squares show the opposite relationship. The incredible part is that the AI can process all of these connections instantly, finding those hidden patterns we would probably miss. So, does all this fancy tech actually work? Well, the research says a big yes. A study from Ames Press shows that when you combine different machine learning techniques into what they call hybrid models, you get forecasts that are way more accurate than the old methods and even better than just using one AI model by itself.
So the bottom line here is a massive upgrade to that old, dusty crystal ball. What we have now is a system that gives us a clearer, faster, and far more accurate picture of the economic road ahead.
Okay, this is all really cool high-tech stuff, but let's bring it all back down to earth. What does any of this actually mean for you?
What's amazing about these new tools is they let economists see the economy in two ways at once. They can track the big, slow-moving undercurrents that are driving prices over the long term, while at the same time, they can monitor the choppy, day-to-day waves of inflation that you and I actually feel at the store. It's about seeing both the hidden trends and our immediate reality.
So the predictions are way better. Great! But how do these sharper forecasts actually get used to shape decisions in the real world?
Well, check out this forecast from JP Morgan Research. This is a perfect real-world example. They're able to project that new tariffs might cause an inflation spike in the US, while things in Europe could cool down, and China might keep seeing low prices. This is exactly the kind of high-level insight that powers major decisions around the world.
And that brings us right back to your wallet. Because when a central bank, like the Federal Reserve, sees a reliable forecast for rising inflation, what do? They might raise interest rates to cool the economy down. And that means the rate on your mortgage, your car loan, and your credit card, it all goes up. There is a direct line from these high-level forecasts to your personal finances.
So look, our ability to see and predict what the economy is going to do is evolving at an incredible speed. But it leaves us with one final, fascinating question. Even with the clearest view we've ever had, even with the smartest AI, can we ever fully control the complex and, let's face it, very human forces that drive inflation? That is definitely something to think about.